Death Note, the ultimate cat and mouse game of morality. Light Yagami is a young genius scholar who discovers a notebook called the Death Note. Upon taking it home and meeting the notebook's previous owner, he learns that the notebook has the power to kill anyone whose name is written inside. Upon learning this knowledge, he decides to rid the world of all crime and evil, writing down criminals who don't get the justice they deserve. The world police and the top detective L also get on the case, deciding that he is nothing but a mass murderer.
And I will become the god of this new world.
It's just as I thought. Humans are so interesting.
Now, Death Note is hardly the most conventional story. Considering its plot, it's important to de-establish the existence of an archetypal hero or villain, when stories such as these consider and even challenge morality. Now our definitions for heroes and villains are constantly changing. In their fictional universes, there are superheroes who are looked upon with admiration and considered to be important leaders of society. But then there are also superheroes who are looked upon with skepticism or even hatred. The major difference between heroes and villains is that the hero is using his power to help others, whilst the villain's doing it for selfish purposes. And sometimes there are characters who border the line of both. I will now look closer at a character that is a complex hybrid between these two literary stereotypes, namely the ultimate antihero, Light Yagami. Light's ideology and the message he tries to get across is ultimately one of utilitarianism. Utilitarianism is the most absolute and powerful approach to normative ethics ever. The general view of it being that whatever ultimately produces the most good in the world is the morally right action to take, no matter what the consequence. This is a very fair statement to make, and one that is pure of any evil or obsession, but the question is, what is right? And who decides what is right? This is where the elitist character Light Yagami takes the helm and decides it's not only his role, but his absolute duty to decide. Now Light Yagami, before even getting the notebook, is an interesting character already. He's a genuinely intelligent prodigy with a strong sense of justice. He's handsome, good with words and family, and extremely hardworking, aiming to the best entrance school in Japan. It's fair to say he's an all-round perfect specimen, and that if anything, this shows a testament that even the most innocent, hard-working soul can be tainted. But I see it as more than that. I think a part of this was here from the beginning, that Light Yagami was a ticking time bomb waiting to go off. I mean, think about it. Light is popular and well liked by everyone, right? And yet, at what point in the series do we ever see him with a friend? Like with actual genuine friends. He's seemingly popular and well liked by girls, and yet before and after he picks up the notebook, he's almost always alone. The guy secludes himself. The closest thing we ever see to a friend in the series is his enemy L. And we know how that one turns out. This seems to show that despite how perfect he seems to fit into society, he doesn't include himself along with everyone else. He's an outcast and one that considers himself outside or maybe even above everyone. It's important to remember that before all of this greater good talk and judgment god of the new world imagery, his original intention from the second he's introduced is boredom. He was just bored. This indicates that even before the Death Note was introduced in the series, the seeds were already there to corrupt the perfect Light Yagami. Being so insanely on top of the food chain makes the innocent Light secretly elitist to those beneath him. He can't understand people who might be forced into a life of crime, or even less intelligent people. In fact, other than his family, he has no time in the series for those less smart than him, and he even seems to be annoyed by them. This isn't patriotic judgment, this is mild annoyance. And the fact that he can pass every obstacle in his life with such ease makes society boring to him. Much like his Shinigami Ryuk, they are both considered outcasts because they consider themselves to be above their respective worlds.
This is how it should be. It's perfect. Everything is going just like I planned.
Prodigy Light was bound to rise to something greater when he was given a bigger purpose. He would rise to this evil throne and he would see it as a challenge, or even a game. And this is where the character's foundations start. The question is, at what exact point does Light lose the right to be called the hero? And the answer is, there is no set in stone moment that this change occurs. Every single moment of his character development arc can be met with skepticism. It's totally down to the individual interpretation. And in my opinion, that is the most interesting thing about this show. It does what good art does, and not only presents an engaging story, but challenges the audience on a moral and emotional level. What is good? Is it right to kill? Is evil really evil if it's just for a just cause? Who is the hero and who's the villain? And if so, what point do we consider Light to not be the hero? Having discussed this with many people, it's a very controversial subject with no real answer, and that's how it was written. It is important to not label Light as an absolute evil villain though, especially when you look at his opposition. El the detective is to be considered his absolute equal. They are both as intelligent as each other, and the only reason one of them wins over the other is pure chance. Light may not be a perfect hero, no, but is El? El is a flawed character with many flaws, yes. He strives for traditional justice, which may be flawed in itself, and he's definitely no pillar of ultimate goodness. He breaks the law many times trying to get to justice. He spies on the Yagami household. He puts suspects in prison and ultimately tortures them for many weeks. He tricks Light's dad into scaring an answer out of him, this is just cruel. Both of them have questionable methods, but both of them will do any single thing they can to win. When considering portrayal, you have to look at the ending. You have to see who wins, Light or El, good or bad. How's the resolution handled in the story? Well, very differently. The manga and the anime have totally different portrayals of the endings. I mean, don't get me wrong, both Kira does end up dead, but the presentation of it is so key and very strikingly different. The original ending shows Light revealed as the mass murderer of Kira before being shot and crawling to Ryuk, screaming in pain for help. Demanding that everybody he got killed in his life help him now.
What are you waiting for? Write down their names! Write them down! Kill them now!
Kira's death here is much less majestic in this version. There is absolutely no sympathy or remorse for the monster Light had become. This ending at first seems to imply that Kira is a pure evil villain, but this is wrong. Ironically, it is the identity of Kira that consumes the innocent Light Yagami, but in the end of the story, it is Light that is the monster and Kira that goes on as the true valued idea. The violent and pitiful death Kira receives isn't to paint him out as the absolute villain, but instead as a testament to the innocent people who he gave gruesome and pathetic deaths to, finally resulting in his own pathetic death. This is a death not for Kira, but for Light, because Light made an error and killed innocent people, and this is what he gets to deserve. Because in the anime version, Mikami slips his arm and causes a diversion. This did not happen in the original manga. Light takes this opportunity and staggers to the door. Somehow he manages to escape the task force, and Nia says,
And with those wounds, he's not going to go far. He'll stop running soon, even if we leave him alone.
Stop it!
Light is on his final stretch, is shown in a more positive light, and he dies peacefully on a staircase, as you see the remainder of the innocent, well-intended kid Yagami once was, as El watches him die. It's a really sad ending, of course, but it is the ending Light deserved, dying in the middle of the staircase, hinting that a notebook user cannot either go to heaven or hell. And even if they could, how would you be able to decide which one Light deserved? The symbolism is poignant, but the gospel angel music seems to indicate Light is realizing where he went wrong, and this ending seems to choose an interpretation for the viewer. It's like it's meant to scream to the viewer that Kira actually is dying a hero's death, when really the whole point of the Death Note is that the justice theme is entirely debatable. The best thing about the series is that you got to decide who you thought was morally right, who you think the protagonist and the antagonists are. The manga, on the other hand, leaves the end sentiment a lot more open to debate. Light gets his awful death and the world goes on, but we see real people. We see real, innocent people in their masses still praising Kira even after his demise. Now this struck me as an odd, unrelated ending at first, but then I realised that girl at the end in the hood is meant to symbolise us. We got to decide who our hero was, and the manga left it on that final note. to show that the viewers who followed Kira are just as right as the ones who followed the others. At the end of the day, it's down to us, and this conflict will never truly be resolved. There is no correct answer, and perhaps Kira's way truly was the right path, but it'll take a better man than Light Yagami to bring it about, and this thinking is, it's only hypothetical. Nier and L won because of the society we live in. Traditional justice is archaic and correct, but it will never allow such a radical cause such as Kira. But that's just in the story. What the reader decides is right and what they take away from this story is down to them, which is what makes Death Note a true masterpiece.